Be kind of a request video, not really. It's mostly an update to a video I made a long time ago about vape lung and whether or not it had anything to do with popcorn lung and COVID-19. Now, I'm not going to give my opinion I gave before because it's not relevant. We're going to talk about the update that most people ignored. One of the nasty things about being on the internet is that we don't go back and double check whether or not we got something right, wrong, or other. This would be most likely other. Vape lung, the issue with people using vaping products and it being associated with medical problems with the lungs, not necessarily popcorn lung, was almost exclusively in the United States, and with a 60 people dying and 2,700 ill people, it had a 2% death rate approximately. Now, 86% of the people who had this medical problem that was identified as being uniquely associated with the medical problem itself and vaping, 80% of them were using cannabis products. And of those products, the majority of them had vitamin E acetate, a thickening agent. I can't pronounce it correctly, so it's a thickening agent that was put at 50% of the volume or higher instead of the normal regular level of 20% concentration because of a very simple thing. Cannabis products are restricted or outlawed or limited in some areas, and people would try to make their small amount they had last longer by cutting it more. And yeah, I'm using that expression in the same way that you would talk about cocaine being cut. Not because it's like cocaine, but because it's dangerous to cut drugs inaccurately. This is an example of per dosage ratios being inappropriate. What happened is instead of vaporizing the cannabis product or whatever, like nicotine or whatever, people were vaporizing the supposedly inert material, vitamin E acetate, the thickening agent, that made it to where it would stay on the coils so that it would boil off correctly. There is no evidence of any outbreak of this exact problem or anything associated with it, including vaping products, in European countries, and very little actual evidence of it happening really anywhere at all. And it being a coronavirus or COVID-19 related is an old meme, and tracking facts concerning that failed due to many false claims and even false x-rays and false evidence presented by people because they wouldn't stop moving the meme. People were taking images from people who had COVID-19 and relabeling them as being vape products and vice versa. People were making it about anything other than a virus because they were experiencing a need for a conspiracy theory to be confirmable because of religious, ideological, or political orientations. They weren't caring about facts. Now that this is no longer in vogue, you can look up popcorn lung, vape lung, and vitamin E, and thickening agents, and concentrations and stuff, and find mostly this accurate information. Now, the idea here is hindsight's 2020, especially if you made an ass of yourself, because you're looking back using evidence that you didn't have before. People jump to a conclusion because they think some horrible disaster is happening. And more importantly, the mainstream media kept using popcorn lung, which is actually a different condition. It really is. It's caused by a specific cause, not this one. And I made a video including that information, so I'm going to have to update it. It wasn't completely accurate or really usable. So anyway, where did this happen mostly? The reason I made this is that Wikipedia won't use a gradient scale for a damn thing. Anyway, number of deaths linked to vaping products per state, which is an inaccurate way of doing this. But there were only 60 some odd people dying in the United States. That's 1 or 2 per state, but this is the actual ratio. Illinois and California had the higher ranking of deaths than Minnesota, Indiana, and Georgia. And then basically everywhere else was 0 or 1 death. So it was really, that's not really how it works. I'm not trusting Wikipedia numbers, but that says that it was really just a bad batch of material, or, I don't know, maybe the laws in certain states making people need to do something that ended up messing them up. And then on the counterpoint to that, yes, I'm blaming the state and federal laws and all that, especially federal. But the other thing I'm mentioning here is really simple. It's not the goddamn cannabis, it's the additive. I actually got that right in the original one, but I got the wrong additive. Or not, you decide. I'll try to leave a link to the old video, and I will try to update it, because obviously I should. But it wasn't popcorn lung. It wasn't the compound that's associated with popcorn smell, although that did happen too. It was mostly that they found a high correlation, not necessarily causation, with an additive, a thickening agent, in the material. That's it. Now, was this COVID-19 or coronavirus so that you can scream loudly, make America great again, and open up the economy? No, that's not really what's going on here at all. That you don't get that meme. You don't get to do that. We're not going to have that. But anyway, 60 people died and about 2,700 people got sick, and that's it. But the death rate's very similar, 2%, a very heavy death rate among those who were injured. Anyway, the percentage is based on product and brand. Dank vapes had a high incidence of association with it. Doesn't mean they were doing anything, but it was higher with THC. All the way down through all of the other lists. But dank vapes was the major one. Juul, being a nicotine product only, was showing high correlation. And them doing an announcement that, well, they don't put out any kind of THC products, that's fine, but that's not relevant. Their product showed up more. That's simply because it's more commonly used by young people. It really is. The other names you might have noticed here aren't really well... Okay, there's Views Alto right there, and there's Juul. Those are the two that a lot of you'll recognize. That's it. It was just that it was it wasn't Juul. It was just that it was the most commonly used one for nicotine. Okay, with THC, well, dank vapes is the only one I ever heard of, honestly. So whichever one was the most popular product is the one that showed up being used by people more who happen to have this. Now, what actually happened is vaping kits that people had that you could roll your own and modify, or cartridge ones where they would just reuse the cartridges by putting in their own mix, which I've seen people do. And actually, I'm sad to say I help people be able to do that, because I thought, if you're going to vape, shouldn't this be something you can maintain yourself and not be throwaway items? I might have inadvertently helped a couple of people get sick, but I don't know. But anyway, Oregon apparently had one death linked. This isn't a list of people who were sick. It's the death rate. And that's all there is to it. That's all the information I have. So, in conclusion, it's not popcorn lung. It's something else, number one. Number two, it's not that it was the... It's not the THC or the cannabis product. It was the filler material used to thicken it. Next, the politics in here and ideological bullshit wasn't just limited to coronavirus deniers or coronavirus conspiracy theorists. This was also linked to people who are absolutely ultra paranoid about marijuana and, well, more accurately, cannabis. People who use cannabis are constantly assailed with, and I'm going to say this, propaganda. They're told constantly that their product is it's going to cause the end of Western civilization or something. Reefer madness. So they're very used to being lied to by officials. Instead of the officials saying it's not the THC, it's one of the fucking additives, most likely, immediately, because there was no reason to assume it's the THC doing this, okay? I mean, that was a dumb statement by everybody. What they should have said is all vaping products could potentially be a problem, and it is most likely one of the additives. Now, that's actually something that a lot of the officials really said, but they didn't stress, and this is the quote, it's not the damn THC. They're not allowed to because, and this is part of the problem, many organizations, many subsections of the U.S. government, and many healthcare organizations are forbidden from saying anything even remotely that sounds like an endorsement of using cannabis products. And that made this worse. There, I said it. Now you can decide I'm wrong about this. I probably am. I was wrong before about it being popcorn lung. But that makes more sense. And again, this is what happens when you take medical science and shackle it with bullshit artists, lawmakers, and lawyers, and government officials that are handcuffed and gagged about telling you the truth. The truth should be the most important thing. And yeah, I'm shitting on every administration, not just the Trump administration. Just saying. So, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And no, it wasn't associated with coronavirus. And no, it's not a way of avoiding having coronavirus be a real disease. Good day.